Hey, and once again, welcome to another episode of Internet Traffic Kings. I'm the Big Fat Boo, John Fondy, and we're broadcasting from the campus of UNLV right here in fabulous Las Vegas. And I'll tell you, it's been hot up here, a little bit smoky, but I'll tell you, we're going to keep it hot and smoky as we put this show on the plate. And of course, we're talking about the ClickFather Kevin De Vincenzi. Good to see you, Kevin.
Good to see you, John.
I don't know.
You're saying it's hot there. It's been Malibu was 111 on Saturday, and they don't really have AC. Any of the homes along the coast, they don't put air conditioning in the units. So a couple days out of the year it gets pretty hot. So we actually escaped to a hotel for the weekend. Saturday morning I saw it was going to be 111. So I was like, well, let me find a hotel. And as I was looking online and talking to them, and they're like, oh, sorry, a kid pooped in the pool. The pool's closed today anyway. I'm like, you got to be kidding. I'm like, all right, well, at least we have tomorrow, Sunday. And they're like, yep, you have to reserve a slot. So 2-hour slots. You have to go early in the morning, stand in line. This is for the hotel pool. Reserve a slot, and then they'll let you in.
I don't know I don't know that Motel 6 is the best place to go these days,
Yeah, no, they're moving on up, John. They're moving on up for sure.
So that's kind of like a scene out of Caddyshack then, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Plus the hotel had bed bugs, so I came back with all these little bites. So it was great. Little something to go home.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of had a day like that where everything I touched yesterday, I went to Fry's. Of course, Fry's is practically closed,
Right.
Then I went to the Apple store. The Apple store is closed.
Yeah.
Then I went to run an errand, and the guy was out to lunch. I had a sign in the window and stuff. And then I had to get a printer ink, and I forgot to bring the printer cartridge with me, so I couldn't get the printer ink and stuff. So.
Not to come off topic, but with your printer, what do I have here? I have an HP Office Jet, and basically you buy the printer. It's on Amazon. It's about $400, and the printer connects to HP, and you just pay a monthly fee for about how many pages you're going to print, and they send you the ink. So I pay like $3.95 a month, and they know when the ink's going low, and I already have a new package waiting for me. Great system.
Wow, that is pretty good, isn't it? Wow. Not that that's off topic. Not that we ever have any topics anyway.
No, of course not. We're just winging it, John.
Well, just think of how many people are watching this information now that are going to go, hey, I never knew that. So
I know. I should give them an affiliate link, right?
Yeah. So we bring them. We bring them. Hey, Kevin, a lot of talk, out there, about masterclasses that are taking place, and you're seeing all kinds of masterclasses popping up.
Absolutely.
And we were the creators of masterclasses way back 10 years ago when we did our original radio show, and then when we started doing the show, and I was talking to our technical director, and we realized that we started this show at the start of the pandemic, and we're still doing it now, basically 6 months into it. Episode 25. And our ratings are pretty phenomenal, aren't they?
No, ratings are great. And, if you go to Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. That helps the algorithm share it with more people. So that's awesome. And YouTube views are still, going strong, approximately 10,000 every week. Some weeks, 17, 18,000, all organic. It's been a lot of fun, and, people enjoy watching it. So we're going to keep delivering.
Yeah. And they're digging the Spotify, and they're digging our Facebook and our Internet Traffic Kings website and stuff like that. So it's like you can get there any way you want to, but it's people out there that really make the show. We get great comments and stuff like that, and so here's a master class. This would probably cost somebody $3,500 to $5,500 to take this class.
At least.
This is a summertime gift that we're going to throw out there, and so. Just put a little bow around your neck there, and we'll kind of get it done. Now, you've been in this business for 24 years.
That's correct.
Does it seem like it was yesterday when you started into it?
No, not really, because I've gone through so many different iterations of what the business looks like. It's constantly changing and evolving. So no, it doesn't. It feels like 20. Probably feels like 50 years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. More like that. And we've been through every spectrum of the young kids getting into the ball game to the seasoned professionals. we've been through the lawsuits, we've been through the legal hassles, we've been through the arrests, we've been through, everybody's got a tale to tell out there. But Kevin, you really kind of kept things on the straight and narrow. And
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
thought
what
we weren't going to talk about your arrest, John, but I mean, now that you put it out there, you know.
Well, yeah, it's difficult. They were going to build a school within 500 yards of my house, and something kind of came up, so we didn't do that. But
no, listen, it's all knowledge, right, John? The more knowledge you can get, and especially in this day of age, and a lot of people are doing programmatic buys, so they're letting the computer do all the learning and what have you. We're one of the last agencies doing everything manually. All our bid adjustments, everything is done manually. So I'm sitting there, feeling the campaign, understanding what's happening, checking stats constantly. I mean, it's part for the adrenaline rush, but also because I feel that I can still make adjustments in real time, where an algorithm is going to take hours to make the adjustment.
Well, and not only that, that algorithm, if it makes the wrong adjustment or gets hacked in some way, you're responsible for it.
Absolutely. You know, we've tried a lot of different AI sims and got disastrous results, because you're absolutely right. If the parameters aren't perfect, or they need a long level to learn. Whereas, you know, I can start a campaign and within the first $100 or $200, I can tell you if it may be a winner or not, or sometimes it might just be a winner right off the bat. When you're talking about programmatic, they'll say, oh yeah, we'll just let it run for 2 weeks. And in this business, I don't have 2 weeks to see if something's going to win or lose. I mean, I know literally within hours. I launched a campaign yesterday and did almost like a programmatic boo-boo. I put the budget at $1,000, not thinking that Google can spend 2 times that, according to their rules. Dropped my daughter off at her mom's house, came back an hour later and spent $2,000. So and that's literally within a little bit over an hour. So all you can do at that point is just learn from that and say, okay, so I spent $2,000 an hour by 24 hours means I can spend $48,000 a day on this campaign. What can I learn from it? Which I did, and we've adjusted, and we're already profitable on day 2, which is phenomenal. Yeah, no programmatic for us.
Well, and I think do you think that's more old school? Do you think more people that have been around for a while are doing it that way, or does it go 50-50? Or is it
now that there's only a few of us? Yeah, there's only a few of us left that are still doing actual manual adjustments. Most people are just letting it roll, right? So, but the difference is they might squeeze out 20% return on investment, where I feel I can squeeze out double, if not triple that, by doing it by hand. But, you know, it's a big commitment. I mean, you know, you're constantly either on a computer or on your phone making bid adjustments and adjusting in real time, because when you're buying traffic, it's an auction. So you're buying in a real-time environment. So John pays $1 a click. I'm paying $1.01 a click. John comes back at $1.02 a click. So you really have to understand what's happening. And it changes by the day of the week, the hour. There's so many different variables that you need to understand when you're doing this and how you're buying. Well,
and then there's so many other of kind of personal algorithms you got to put in there. You know, what the cost per customer acquisition is going to be, what that return on that is.
Those goals. But the further, if you're talking about, let's say, Google or really any buy, you have to think about your audience first. Who is my audience? So if I'm buying, you know, we'll be talking later about Medicare. If I'm buying Medicare calls, obviously I'm targeting only over 65. What else am I targeting? Am I targeting their demographics? Am I targeting their income range? Am I targeting so many different things? Do I have a like audience that I can put in with it? And that's really how you win at the game, is taking all the data that's out there and putting it where it needs to be so that the systems perform properly. You know, if you go to Google right now and just put up an ad for Medicare 65 plus, it's going to serve everybody 65 plus, and you're not going to get the same result. Whereas if you took, let's say, people that filled out Medicare leads 3 months ago, and you take that file and you bring that into Google, Google can now learn off that and build a like audience. Same thing with Facebook, same thing with many platforms. So it's really about data and setting up your hierarchy properly when you set up a campaign.
Well, it also seems like a good target would be that person that's 63 or 64 years old, because they're really
yeah, that's called aging in. So 64 and a half is actually, but you'd need the data for that, right? Because Google's not going to give you a target for that. There's a 65 plus target, but there isn't a 64 and a half. But if you had the proper data, you could then properly target somebody aging in. That is correct.
And the other thing is that there's so many, I don't want to call them scams out there, but hustles, if you will, to get
Hmm.
people involved. Um, and then you've got information that's out there. The information is all over the place, from things like Social Security age is going to go down, Social Security is going
Right,
to be
right.
bankrupt. So you're almost going in having to understand what a lot of these questions are going to be when you
No,
gather that lead. And
you have to know all your markets. And to further talk about data, you know what I just said. Now somebody might go out there and say, oh well, this guy's willing to sell me a file of, you know, of seniors, so I can just buy that file and put it into Google. Well, if that file is not reputable, you have liability where you could be sued if that data wasn't extracted with the proper disclaimers on it. And B, if it's a fake file, you're now putting a fake file into Google trying to get that traffic. It's not going to learn anything. If anything, it's just going to deliver you the wrong traffic. So you have to be really, really careful from the data end as well, because there's so many data brokers out there. And if you're not dealing with somebody reputable, you could just totally screw up your campaign. So now your campaign's going to lose because you put bad data in there.
is there anything to be said? I mean, is it okay to buy data, or is most of it?
It is okay to buy data, but you have to understand the consumer journey. So a lot of what we do when we're talking to a publisher is, let me understand your consumer journey. Let me understand what the publisher, what happens when the consumer goes to your website, what that privacy statement looks like, and then where they go from there. What acknowledgments do they do along the way, et cetera. Then it's okay. There's two companies out there that are widely used, Jornea and Trusted Form, and those are two data, how could you call them, like data guarantee companies, where as long as the person that's doing the data has either Jornea or Trusted Form on there, you can then match that record. It's all done with MD5 hash, so I can't see your record or what have you, but you can check everything to make sure that that is where the data is coming from, and that is where the lead is coming from. But it's definitely a lot of work. It's not, it's part art, part science, but there's a lot of work that has to go into it,
Well, it kind of
especially
sounds
these
like,
days with the litigation.
it kind of sounds to me like that may be a little bit more costly, but in the long run, that's a real strong investment you could make.
Well, you know the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. So if you put bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. So it's not, a record could cost you a penny to 5 pennies, or if you're getting fresh data, like on our Medicare or health, we'll buy fresh data for $1 a record. It's just numbers, right? So 100 records is $100, and then you figure out if you can get 3 sales off that at $40 a sale, you're at 120, so you're plus 20%. So it's just all mathematical and testing different data. It's a process.
It used to be that elections were won and lost by people that would knock on doors, and they would go out
Right.
and find out information and stuff. But so much of it is now going, through the internet, and using a lot of this data that we're seeing out there. It can make or break a campaign.
Absolutely.
And in doing so, I guess you have to really realize the people that are working for you, because it's an instantaneous world that we're in right now, and you've got to be able to verify information. But not only, I encourage my people to start a positive campaign before you're forced to correct a negative campaign, and we can now kind of do that with professionals like yourself.
Absolutely. I know that a lot of the traffic sources, I know Twitter, Facebook, are doing censoring as much as they can as far as political ads, so that the election's not skewed. But at the end of the day, you have to be a smart consumer and understand what you're reading, and know that a lot of it may be biased. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or independent. There's a lot of biased data out there, and you just don't want to fall into that trap. I see it all the time, and are people like, well, I believe it because I saw it on Snopes, but if you ever want to see the history, Google history of Snopes, and you'll see a different story. And I don't know how credible you'll think they are after that.
Well, I think that's true, and they started out in the business as being very credible, and then again, data and information came out, and we slowly started to find out a little more what they were all
I understand, Snopes verifies their data by going to Google. So if Google is biased, so is Snopes. That's from what I understand. So then you might as well check Google and see whatever they are going to filter to you as far as a result. And I'm not saying that Google is filtering anything. I'm saying do your own research. We'll leave it there. Being that we don't have Bennett on the show today because he's on vacation, I don't want to get myself in trouble, so we'll leave it there.
Well, we'll leave it at that. So, as you're kind of going through all this stuff, do keywords play into this equation a lot, and is that picking your keywords as important as your whole campaign?
Keywords are absolutely, if you're talking about search, keywords are the meat of the whole campaign. And that's where a lot of thought comes in, because you need to figure out, okay, forget about what I'm going to search for. What is John going to search for? What is John's wife going to search for? And start coming up with the phrases that you feel people are going to search for. Because also, since you're in a competitive landscape in auction, it's very easy. Let's just say we're doing motor vehicle accidents. That's one of our big campaigns right now. So car accident lawyer, crash accident lawyer, all those general ones, the major law firms are bidding those to $100 a click, $120 a click. So now I've got to think outside the box. What else is somebody going to put in? So John, what would you put in for you got into a car accident, you're looking for legal representation, what would you put in Google?
I'd probably put in something that would be like personal injury experts.
Okay, I'll add that keyword right now. Thank you. Right. So different people are going to choose different things. And if you can get those long tails, meaning the keywords that are not as popular, but they're going to be bid a lot less. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to, so instead of competing against the big dogs and paying $120 a click, I might pay, like today I'm averaging $10 a click, just still high, but at $10 a click, I can be very profitable in the campaign. Mm-hmm. Had I gone against the big guys with those main keywords, I'd be paying the $120 a click. It'll never work for me.
And they've got the ammunition to continuously outbid you, and they've got.
Well, it's not just that; they're the end user, right? So forget about my 20, 30, 40% that I'm trying to make on the campaign. They can consume a lot more. They can reinvest that 20 to 40% directly. So absolutely, they've got a much bigger gain. I may get, call it, $100 on every call. Each call that converts for them may be worth, $10,000, right? I mean, that's why you see all those big billboards in Vegas, right? And all over LA as well.
That's true. And it seems like now when you just look at what is hot out there right now, so a lot of people that are concerned with opening their businesses because of the legal ramifications of right. COVID and the diseases and stuff. And so I'm hearing a lot of buzz out there of how can we protect those business owners and get things cranking a little bit more, not only for them, but also, set the scale a little bit for those employees that are just going in and looking for a slip and fall paycheck or something like that.
Yeah, I mentioned before, I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits that are going to come out, mostly class actions. And again, this is just my personal opinion in regards to the way a lot of this stuff is being handled, not really from the employers, but more from the consumer end. As far as sporting events not returning, ticket prices. I heard that there's some challenges with the Raiders as well now. The games aren't going off, but people still paid for their tickets. And I think that's going to eventually spur into a bunch of these class action lawsuits, which, I don't know a legal right that they have that's buried in their contract, unless they say it's an act of God, to take people's money. And just from a business standpoint, how can you do that? It's kind of like we spoke to Marketing Meathead a few weeks ago, and he said, I returned everybody's money from the pools, right?
Well, yeah, he said he almost went out of business doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is the right thing. I mean, it's you're paying for a service, and if you're not provided that service, why should you then lose that money? So it's we're still headed for a very interesting time. I believe you're going to see a lot of different lawsuits come up and different things happen, and and changing the landscape too. I sent you that video on Vegas. I mean, a lot of the businesses that are open are struggling, and they're struggling more because most people don't want to travel. So now they're attracting less of a consumer that doesn't gamble and, just creates havoc. So that's going to be a major problem for them.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of a two-way street as well, the way that it's being handled from the top down and the bottom
Yeah.
up. Uh,
Right.
and every city has got their challenges, but
Sure.
I think doing the right thing for the people is probably the good place to start.
Right.
And so, yeah, we're seeing things still kind of weird here, in Las Vegas, and people are playing the price game, which is, I don't think, the way to go, because I really don't think it attracts the type of tourist or the type of customer that I want to be around. And so,
Well, that's the thing, right? So the Wynn Labor Day weekend had rooms at $80, I heard. So the Wynn standard rate on the Labor Day would be 600 plus. So at $80, you are going to get, a different element of people, and not good nor bad. It's just it's a totally different landscape, and the city's driven on gambling. So if these people aren't gambling as well, then it's not really. At $80, I don't think the Wynn makes any money on that room. By the time they pay I think the union, right? So they pay their housekeeping and everything else. What are they gonna net on that room? Plus wear and tear or what have you. So.
Well, yeah, I think it's just one of those things where somewhat of a lost leader. I'm finding now in many cases what the pricing of the rooms, the bed tax is actually more than the actual cost of the room now.
Right.
And,
Right.
And people, but they don't advertise that, and so I think
Right.
it creates a lot of, you're paying $19 for a room, but you're paying $35 in taxes.
Oh, the resort fees.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, the daily resort fee. Yeah, they started that years ago. I also heard that they were going to eliminate the paid parking in Vegas, which I don't even know why they even did that to start with.
Yeah, they have now. They realized it was a bad thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
It really caused a lot of bad blood, not necessarily from the tourists, but from the locals here, because
Sure.
you go and want to play poker for a couple of hours, and it costs you $20 to park, and it's like, why
Right.
why bother, and stuff like that. And so, yeah, we're seeing a lot of the parking fees go away now, which everybody is doing that, and they're all trying to help each other out. Some major grumblings going on in the Visitors and Convention Bureau here. Some shakeups going on with that.
Well, they built that new convention center too, right?
Yeah, that's right behind the link.
Yeah.
The big Ferris wheel. I've
Yep.
been in there. It's one of the most magnificent structures I've ever seen, Kevin. It's absolutely amazing. It's just amazing. It's sad that they took the time with nothing going on to build it.
Sure.
Now it's built and it's open, and you can't use it, if you will. But it's
Right.
and conventions were such a big thing here.
Absolutely.
And also, I just heard by the time of this broadcast that they're moving NFR to Texas.
I saw that. Yep. Somebody sent me a text this morning.
And so
no cowboy Christmas in Vegas.
Nope, that's all gone. Now, Kevin, I don't know if you remember this, but I want to say maybe like 8 to 10 years ago, you were still here in Las Vegas when they decided they were going to move that rodeo, I think, to Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what ended up taking place was all the West Coast Cowboys and organizations decided they would start their own NFR and cater to the Western region, because a lot of people didn't want to go all the way to Florida. And probably within 6 months, NFR said, "We're just kidding. We're gonna stay in Las Vegas." But
Smart of them.
And it's expensive to do anything in Las Vegas, and it still is. And I think
that's going to be interesting, because now with them moving to Texas, what happens next year? Even if the country's open back up, do they go back to Vegas because it was more expensive, or do they stick where they are? I mean, that's really, you're going to see a lot of shifting happening, where people, and just generally in the convention space, Salesforce can be like, well, why are we spending, $2 million to do our Salesforce convention when we could just do it virtually and, for $10,000, right?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, speaking of virtual, have you spoken to D Money in a while?
I haven't actually. I spoke to him probably about 3 weeks ago. I know that he was planning another trade show, but I haven't, virtual trade show. I haven't touched base with him. I need to. for
Yeah.
sure.
So, I mean, I think he put a lot of work into that, and really,
Absolutely.
it came out really well, really, really well. The speaker lineup that he had was one of the most phenomenal
Fabulous.
people
Absolutely.
that I have dealt with over the time. And I've also found, Kevin, like yourself, the experts are the coolest people to work with. They don't have
Oh,
egos.
absolutely.
They just do their job. And one of the things we've encouraged the people that are going to do and be on this show is they all want to give back. It's like, hey, I'm not doing anything. Call me. Let me give you some advice. Let me get you
Right.
started on the right track and stuff. And we've seen that from everybody that's been on the show.
No, absolutely. And I was thinking a regular trade show, everybody will sign up for the classes and all the different things on the venue and then not show up. So you see a little bit of that online as well. So you just have to adjust for that. I mean, and I'm guilty of that too, right? If I sign up for a virtual trade show, I've signed up for a ton of them, but then you get busy. Then you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll put it up on this screen. Maybe I'll just look at this one. So it's definitely an adjustment. But with technology these days, you can virtually be everywhere. They're doing CES online, which is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be weird, and that was a big problem for Las Vegas here because
For sure.
that was the biggest one. That was the big daddy,
Yeah.
and they came out with that formal announcement
Yeah.
about a month ago that they were going to do it, and you literally could hear this sigh of agony over the entire city because it
Right.
meant so much to everybody here and just the little guys and the big guys and everybody profited
Sure.
from that show.
That was the start of the year. You start with CES and then roll right into Super Bowl. So you've got two really big events.
Well, yeah, and like you said, you back into that with Christmas going on and the holiday season
Right.
here, which is good for tourism, and we've got you've got the rodeo that's in the last part of the year as well, and then CES. You can almost get back to break even at the end of CES if you've got a
Right.
bad year, and we're not going to see that anymore.
No.
I think with D Money, one of the leg ups that he had is he's been throwing such a successful affiliate ball that
Mhm.
people know him for that, and they know
Right.
that's how it's going to be. And there's a lot of not so good virtual trade shows out there as well.
Sure.
And I think he did well for his first one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think he did great. You did as well, John. I know he hired you as a co-host and you were awesome.
I did as well. So, we talked a little bit about, things that we're going to be on the lookout for. And you mentioned
Yep.
that Medicare and Medicaid supplements and stuff are going to be changing a little bit. And okay, big question of the day. I put you on the hot seat from time to time, but you really know this one as well. Give us the insight on what pay-per call is all about.
Sure, John. So pay per call is when an action is derived from somebody either getting a postcard, reading a newspaper ad, a magazine ad, Google search, a banner that says, for need pest control, call this number. So when the person picks up the phone, calls that number, that would generate an action, whether it's on a duration, so 30 seconds, they have to be on the call, 2 minutes, what have you. But that is essentially pay per call. It's somebody calling into into a number so that you'll get paid on that action. So you basically just like you're bringing somebody in for filling out a lead. Instead, they're picking up the phone and making a phone call. And we've been in pay per call since 2007, John.
And have you seen that environment change at all?
Oh, of course. I mean, a lot of the big markets up until this challenge happened. I can't say the words because otherwise YouTube somehow doesn't let us publish. So up until March, we saw a lot of travel, a lot of cruises. Those were big. Disney Cruise Line was a big client for us, and that's all gone right now, obviously, because we don't know when the next cruise will be. So it's now a lot more services, life insurance, health insurance, home remodeling, because people are home. So it's funny. I went back to an old neighborhood in Redondo Beach that I used to have a place at. by the ocean, and the 6-year-old was nostalgic. She's like, "Oh, can we go back there for for a day?" So we went back, and I looked at the old complex that I had a place in, and literally every patio had all this expansive furniture on it. And I was like, wow. So yeah, because of this time, people are just improving. It doesn't matter if you live in an apartment or what have you. Everybody's doing the DIY, right? So
they're all definitely staying at home and stuff. So,
yeah.
Question about so paper call, people actually they want you to call them, so they sign up to get a phone call or some type of
Well,
company.
it depends. They could sign up a lead and say, give me a call, or they could just Google. Let's take our motor vehicle accident campaign we talked about earlier. You Google in a car crash, need a car attorney. You probably don't want to fill out a form. You probably want to talk to an attorney now. So we displayed a number on there. You can click it from your phone to call. It'll just say you tap it and it'll say call. So you can call right there. And then depending on what the duration is, once the call connects to the law firm, you'll get paid on that duration, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes. And that's the beauty of pay per call, John, is unlike leads, where if I sell you a lead, depending on what qualifiers I give you, you could still say, Kevin, these leads don't work for me. With a phone call, I would say, John, how many minutes do you feel you need to qualify a client? I'm not going to charge you for any unqualified clients. How many minutes do you need so that the call is qualified? So you say, Kevin, I need 4 minutes. Okay, John, you have 4 minutes. So 4 minutes, I'm going to charge you X. So every call that comes in, you don't pay anything for. I'll bear the cost. But once it hits 4 minutes, you will pay this for that call. So that's the beauty of it. And that's what I like, is that you can really deliver a very qualified prospect to your client.
Well, we talked a little bit before about health insurance and Medicare and supplemental plans, and there's so much unknown out there, and it seems like it's a moving goalpost. But you've got some concrete information on how this whole thing works.
Well, sure. We're entering a really big time right now in pay-per-call in the health sector. You have something called AEP, which is coming up October 15th, where basically it's an open enrollment where you can make changes on your Medicare or your health plan. So essentially, for 9 months out of the year, you can't really do much. But for this 3-month period, the consumer pieces, people are like, oh, I can make a change. I mean, off camera, John, you and I spoke, and you're like, oh, I can do that? Yeah, you can do that. So that runs technically October 15th to December 13th. And then December 13th for a month, something kicks in called OEP, which is open enrollment period, which then you can change your plan and make any changes whatsoever. So that really increases the calls coming in those two segments of the market. There are a lot of changes this year as far as compliance, data. A lot of the big carriers want you to post your data in real time. So if you took a lead, they want that lead to be posted as you send the call in so they can verify. So as your call comes in, it says John Fondi has all your information and everything for the agent. And that's what created quite a challenge with us getting our teams to work with us to do that. But it's a very huge opportunity, but not for the weak-hearted.
Well, I've had the option of having some choices now, and I'm going to keep my plans the way they are, but I'm going to add a couple of items to them. And so I'm starting my research now as to what
Perfect.
direction.
And just hit me up on October 15th and I'll give you a number to call and I'll get paid for the call. Perfect.
Can I make payments on that call?
No, I'll give you half the call back.
Okay, great. Well, that's kind of the thing now. So basically, it's time right now. If you don't have your plan in place right now as to how you're going to approach these potential buyers out there, you're almost behind the 8 ball already.
Yeah, we've been planning for 3.5 months already for open enrollment because there is a lot of planning, understanding where you're going to get your data from to be compliant, because there are many pitfalls out there. We spoke about it earlier as far as verifying your data using Journair, a trusted form, making sure that the data that you're getting or your partners is using is legitimate data, because that's the same thing that we talked about with the like audiences. Somebody could sell you a file from the phone book essentially and be like, yep, these are all people that said they want health insurance, and now this phone room's dialing on them. Each one of those could be a TCPA violation, Telecommunications Privacy Act, and you could be fined $7,500 per call. So it's very serious, and you have those serial litigators, as we've run into in the past. Same thing with email. That's all they do is they sue on phone calls. So they get phone calls coming in, and they file suit. And a lot of bait as well, where they'll call. So they'll see our number, they'll call our number, and then they'll hang up. And then the advertiser, who's like, "Oh, that was a good call," they'll call them back. That's a TCPA violation.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, so basically entrapment, but unfortunately the laws aren't written that way, where you can get caught up in that. We got caught up in one a few years ago. It cost us about $150,000 to defend. We won, but it cost us $150,000 to defend.
Yeah, that's a tough dinner and a tip to pay, but at least
Yeah.
it worked out for you. And I think it works both ways from marketers as well as for buyers. It's time to start thinking about this now, because there's a hard cutoff to both of these programs.
There is, and also if you don't secure your relationships now, what happened, I can at least speak from last open enrollment, was it becomes a buying frenzy. So just like a traditional auction, as the buyers all want these calls, the rates keep going up. So I'm delivering calls right now for health insurance, call it $50 a call. All of a sudden, open enrollment, guys are like, "Kevin, I'll pay 55. The next guy says, "Kevin, I'll pay 60. And they just raise it as high as they possibly can to get those calls, because everybody needs those calls. So that's where, at least for us, we're securing all our relationships now so that we are set all the way through open enrollment.
Well, we got through it again. Another internet marketing masterclass. We're trailblazers out there, man. So
awesome.
We're
any questions? Just email me, Kevin@xy7.com, and I will answer any questions you have in exchange for 5 stars.
Yeah, that's true. You got to have those 5 stars. And we mentioned this at the beginning of the show. This is a non-advertiser supported show. So you can show us some love out there by giving us those 5 stars out there, and the Google Podcast, and listen to us on Spotify and some other podcast sites. But we've got
Apple Podcast, not Google. Oh,
well, I'll get it right. Another 26
Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Just look up Internet Traffic Kings or internettraffickings.com. You can go there as well. All our episodes are there.
And also, just leave us a note if you like us to answer a question. We haven't had Kevin on the hot seat for a while, so we'll look forward to putting him back on the hot seat
good.
A little bit. And I hope it cools off for you a little bit by the time this show airs. Hopefully we've got the smoke out of the air. We've got temperatures coming down, and we can get into a little fall season.
It could be worse. We could be in Colorado, 33 degrees yesterday in a snowstorm.
Yeah, it dropped, 60 degrees in one day or something like that. And
that's what I remember about Colorado in the summer. I was out there quite a bit over the years. Great. Wear shorts in the day, and then at night, you better put your mittens on. It's crazy.
You get smitten in your mitten as well.
That's it.
Anyway, well, Kevin, what do you say we do this again next week?
Sounds good. Always a pleasure, John. This has been
pleasure
great.
with you. I want to thank our team back there handling the 1s and 2s with our technical stuff going as well. And want to remind you guys, I'm the Big Fat Boo. I'm John Fondy, broadcasting from the campus of UMOV right here in smoky Las Vegas. But anyway, we'll leave the key under the mat. You guys are always welcome. We'll see you next time on Internet Traffic Kings.